Will AI take your job? I mean, it's the question on everyone's mind, right? Well, a pretty big report from Goldman Sachs has some fascinating answers. So today, we're going to break it all down, piece by piece, and figure out what this really means for the future of work.
Okay, let's just dive right in. This is it. This is the one question that's causing so much anxiety and, a ton of uncertainty. So in this explainer, we're going to tackle it head on. We're going to use the actual data from the report to cut through all the noise and the hype.
So the report kicks things off with this absolutely massive, headline-grabbing number, 300 million. That's how many full-time jobs around the world could be impacted by generative AI. Now, I know, when you see a number like that, it's pretty startling. But the key word here, the one you really need to focus on, is impacted, not eliminated. And trust me, that distinction means everything.
So, let's get into this 300 million job question. What does it actually mean for a job to be impacted by AI? It's easy to get shocked by that big number, but now we need to dig in and break down what the researchers were really saying. It's a lot more nuanced than you might think.
And it all comes down to this one word, exposed. See, what the report is suggesting is that for a lot of jobs, AI could automate a pretty big chunk of your daily tasks. We're talking maybe a quarter to even half of what you do. But, and this is so important, that doesn't mean your job just vanishes. It means your job changes, it evolves. This really lays out the two different futures we're looking at, augmentation versus displacement. For most people, the report says AI is going to be a tool for augmentation. Think of it like a super smart assistant that handles all the boring, repetitive stuff. This actually frees you up to focus on the bigger picture, strategy, creativity, the stuff humans are great at. That other path, displacement, where an entire role just becomes redundant, well, that's expected to be a whole lot rarer.
Okay, so if the impact isn't the same for everyone, that leads to the obvious next question: who is most affected? Well, the report gets really specific on which industries and roles are on the front lines, and the data shows a very, very clear pattern.
And here's that breakdown. It's pretty stark, right? On the left, in that high-exposure column, you see jobs that are all about processing information. Admin support, legal work, financial operations. But on the right, you've got jobs that require hands-on physical labor and problem-solving in the real world, like construction, repair, and food service. The difference is simple, really. AI right now is way better at crunching data than it is at, say, fixing a pipe under a sink.
This chart just hammers that point home. I mean, look at it. You can see the huge percentage of tasks in admin and legal fields that are exposed to automation. Now compare that to the tiny little sliver for construction. It's not about one job being better than another. It's just about the nature of the work itself and what today's AI is actually built to do.
So here's the kicker. While the degree of exposure is all over the map, the reach of AI is incredibly wide. The report estimates that about 2/3 of all jobs will see at least some level of AI automation. This isn't just some niche thing affecting a couple of industries. No, this is a fundamental shift that's happening across the entire economy.
Now, it is so easy to just focus on the disruption and the scary parts, but the Goldman Sachs report spends just as much time on the other side of the coin, the incredible opportunities. So let's pivot for a second and look at the potential for a massive productivity boom. And here is the other huge number from the report: a potential 7% increase in annual global GDP over a decade. That is a staggering amount of growth. We're talking trillions of dollars in new economic value, and it all comes from AI automating tasks and boosting what we're capable of, letting us all do more, faster.
I love this line from the report because it puts everything into historical context. It's this powerful reminder that, you know what, we have been here before. Every time a major new technology comes along, it causes disruption, for sure, but it has always been followed by the creation of totally new jobs and industries that no one could have even imagined before.
This timeline just lays it all out perfectly. The Industrial Revolution displaced artisans, but it created millions of new factory jobs. The computer age automated a ton of clerical work, but it gave birth to the entire IT sector. And now, the AI revolution is doing the same thing. It's automating some tasks, yeah, but it's also creating this huge demand for AI developers, data scientists, and prompt engineers, jobs that literally didn't even exist just a few years ago.
Okay, so we've looked at the disruption, we've looked at the specific jobs, and we've looked at the history. So what does all this mean for you and me, right now? Let's boil this whole report down to the most important takeaways.
All right, let's wrap this up. If you remember anything, remember these 4 things. First, AI is set to change tasks, not completely eliminate jobs.
Second, the impact is going to look very different depending on what you do for a living. Third, history is on our side here. It shows that technology always ultimately creates new opportunities. And that brings us to the last and maybe the most crucial point. The key to thriving is going to be adaptation and a willingness to keep learning.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. The report makes it crystal clear that this change isn't coming, it's already here. So the real question we should be asking isn't this fearful one about being replaced, it should be a more proactive, more empowering one. Now that we have these amazing new tools, how are you going to adapt and evolve with them?